Happy to go to questions.
There's a lot of money being spent on bushfire recovery, which the Prime Minister has said takes precedence over the surplus. We know that bushfires are going to hamper the economy. Is it fair to say it's unlikely that you will deliver a surplus in May?
Well, the overall economic impact could be varied. We do know that obviously those communities have been absolutely devastated, and that has impact on everything from tourism to household consumption, and the full economic impact is yet to be seen. But we also know that the Australian economy is very resilient. We've withstood a comprehensive and damaging drought. We've seen the trade tensions between the US and China play out. We've also seen the uncertainty generated by Brexit, and I'm pleased that a few of those issues look much more positive this year than they did last year. But our focus is not on the surplus per se. Our focus...
I get that, but where does, given you've outlined some challenges, do you think it's likely you will deliver a surplus or you won't?
Look, I'm not in a position to give a firm answer to that question because the full economic impact is still uncertain. But what I want to say...
You don't deliver a surplus, you said you don't know whether you will.
Yeah,
Isn't that breaking a core election?
Well, let me...
You went to the last election with a back in black, saying you're back in black. You went to the last budget saying you're back in black when you weren't. If you're not back in black...
But Greg, let me just make one clear point. What we went to the Australian people was with a commitment to live within our means. Now, the budget is back in balance for the first time in 11 years. What the Australian people know is that when you are responsible economic managers, you have the financial flexibility to respond to crises and economic shocks whenever they may occur. This is one. This is a time when the Australian people know that their government is there to spend on the things that they need most. And the announcements the Prime Minister has already outlined are the most comprehensive and the most immediate of a federal government financially to a crisis such as this. And that's why responsible economic management is so important.
Could we take the easier question then? Could you give us, Treasurer, an overall figure for this financial year of the commitments that the government has made so far?
So as
overall budgetary figure, that is, not things that are off budget.
So it's 500 million.
As we said this at the last press conference, is that we foresaw that $2 billion, which was our initial and our additional contribution to this National Bushfire Recovery Fund, would have an allocation of $500 million in 1920, $500 million in 1920, $500 million in 1920. Now, obviously, some of these programs are demand-driven, so it's above that. It will be above. It will be above that, and then the rest of the allocation will be over the 2021 and 21-22.
And the announcements of the last couple of days haven't added to that.
Well, of course they're
within that $500 million envelope.
No, Michelle. In terms of they are under that $500 million in terms of 1920, but that number will continue to go up as a result of additional announcements that we are making, as the Prime Minister also indicated.
So 500 is a minimum.
Exactly. 500. The way the numbers are playing out right now, $500 million is probably an estimate and probably lower than what will actually go out the door. But as you would understand, these are demand-driven programs, and I want to make this very clear. You've got the $2 billion for the Bushfire Recovery Fund, and the Prime Minister pointed to a number of announcements that are within that fund. For example, the Wildlife Initiative, the Mental Health Initiative, the Tourism Initiative, the Primary Producer grants up to $75,000, the grants that we've announced today, and loans. But on top of that, you have commitments under categories A, B and C, where we continue to see money go out the door as a result of our commitments to a comprehensive disaster recovery response.
Mr. Reid, would you like to see the government do more would big business like to see the government do more to tackle climate change?
Let me take the question on the budget first, and then I'll certainly be happy to speak about climate change, because I think it is an important debate that is being had here. If you look back in December, the BCA put out our budget submission, and in that we said that unless exceptional circumstances arise, we believe that the budget should be back in a surplus. For 8 years, the BCA have been calling for the budget to be returned to surplus, but even in that document, we said other than in exceptional circumstances. And I don't think there's any doubt that we are now in exceptional circumstances. I think if you look at the package that the government announced today for small business, it is absolutely the right thing to do. Many small businesses in these regions make 100% of their profits between Christmas and Easter. Now, you cannot understand the fear that will be going through those people's hearts and minds at the moment as they are standing there looking at the rest of the year where money goes out of their business, where they have this one moment, this one season each year where money comes in. And so, from the BCA's perspective, let me make this just very clear on the budget, we believe that a budget in surplus is important because we believe it gives the nation the opportunity to respond to circumstances like this when they arise. And we do believe that these are exceptional circumstances. And while we would love to see the budget in surplus, we would not like to see it in surplus at the expense of these local communities.
What about on climate change? Would big business like to see the government do more?
So climate change is a large and vexed issue across our community, and I think you've seen that, and you've seen it in recent days. The BCA has a very well-stated climate change policy, which says we believe that Australia as a nation should be driving to meeting our obligations under the Paris Accord of reducing emissions from the 2005 level by 26 to 28% by 2030. We are in the BCA at the moment going back and having a look at the policy around how that is achieved, what are the mechanisms that should be encouraged to make sure that we do hit that obligation, because the science moves forward at quite a rapid rate. And so I don't want to preempt what is going to be done by the work in that committee, which will be done over the next few months. But let me be very clear. We believe that the nation made an undertaking under the Paris Accord, and we believe that that undertaking should be met.